to order the Trades Licensing Board meeting, Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. I'm going to take the roll. Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Reeves. Mr. Panitsky.
Here.
Mr. Newber. Mr. Dietrich.
Here.
Mr. Ziwi.
Here.
Mr. Sessler. Mr. Bretz. Mr. Schaaf.
Here.
Mr. Hollern.
Here.
Mr. Collins.
Here.
Mr. Grego. And I am present. Roll call has been taken. The previous meeting minutes were disseminated electronically to the board members. If there's no objection, I'll take a motion to approve the meeting minutes. There's a motion by Mr. Panitsky. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Collins. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Seeing that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. The meeting minutes are approved. We're moving into the public comment section of the meeting. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak today? Anyone from the public who would like to speak today? Being that there is none, public comment section is closed. Moving on to the secretary report. The secretary reports Jacob Barr contacted the city solicitor in regards to his journeyman electrician application being denied in April of 2023. Mr. Barr argued he indeed met the schooling requirements listed under the qualification section of our application. Solicitor Betza submitted a memo to the Code Enforcement Office dated March 1st, 2024, allowing Mr. Barr to take his journeyman exam. Solicitor Betza's memo was forwarded to the board on March 4th, 2024. Correspondence. Paul Zito contacted the Code Enforcement Office regarding obtaining a master electrician's license. Mr. Zito held the master license within the city of Erie in 2015 for 1 year and never renewed thereafter. He currently works for SBA Network Services, LLC, and needs to pull a permit to perform cell tower work. The board will need to make recommendations on how to proceed with Mr. Zato as far as the status of his license he will be eligible to obtain. And we'll discuss that under new business. Old business, the board nominated and voted in a board chair, vice chair, secretary for the 2024 term. Okay, under new business, we have applications to review. The first one is electrical. The applicant's name is Justin Oosterkamp. If the board wants to take a moment to review, it's on the screen if you don't have a copy, to review that application.
I didn't get these.
You didn't get him an email?
No, in the email that she said that there was 3 of them attached,
Would you like,
it was empty.
would you pass this down to Mr. Collins, please?
Appreciate it, thank you.
They didn't come in the email that she sent, that they were in like 3 separate emails. So I had the same problem. I looked for them and then I realized that they were in 3 separate emails, but I have a physical copy, so I can just pass mine because I've already looked them over. As you can see from the cover page, the applicant meets the criteria of being an apprentice and the amount of time as a journeyman working beneath a master electrician in the city of Erie, master license 277. Kelly, can you scroll on through the verifier and everything?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. The verification to make sure that everything's signed up. There's the verifier. Move up a little bit more. I think it's Jess Murdoch. Yeah, Jess Murdoch. Is everybody good on that? Can we move up to the initial verifier pages? No, down, I'm sorry, down. There they are. If you could scroll up to the next page, please. There's his journeyman's license. Kelly, if you could scroll up to the next page, please, or scroll down to the next page.
Can you read that? It's too small.
Kinda. No, I can read it. I don't know if everyone else can read
That's
it.
fine here.
Yeah, it's better. Okay.
I don't see any issues. I'll make a motion to approve.
All the documentation is in order. So there's a motion on the floor to approve this application. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hollern. Is there any questions on the motion? Is there any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion?
Who made the motion?
Mr. Panitsky made the motion. Being that there's no questions on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay. The next two applications are plumbing applications. One is a journeyman, and that's Mr. Manini. If you'll pass this down to Mr. Hollern, please.
Thank you.
Or Mr. Collins, my mistake.
Pass that one back, please. I'll just keep them to the end. Give them back. Thank you.
Mr. Manini has held an apprentice card from 2019 to current, which puts him in the time frame acceptable to take the journeyman exam. Under Master License 538, Richard Reeves. If you could scroll down to the next relevant page. Okay, there's the verifier page. I'm assuming that this is Richard Reeves Sr. Okay, we could probably move on to the verifier. His information is on the jurat is acceptable, it's notarized. Okay, Kelly, if you could scroll down. Okay. Well, this application, can you scroll down? There's some extra pages. Oh, another reference letter, okay. We can scroll past that one. As far as I can tell, that this application meets the requirements under the city ordinance.
I'll make a motion to accept.
A motion made by Mr. Panitsky to accept this applicant's application for journeyman exam. Is there a second? Mr. Sessler seconded the motion. If there's any question on the motion? Any question on the motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
The proof of a registered apprenticeship, was there anything in there? I didn't happen to notice that there was proof of him being a registered apprentice.
There isn't a program specific to that. There is one for electrical that we've talked about before, but there isn't. He has enough time, as far as the ICC for the code office goes, it's by time because there isn't an actual educational, like an in-classroom type training. But he meets the requirements because that doesn't exist.
Well, he's applying for a plumbing license.
I understand that, but there's not an in-classroom plumbing program. So he meets the requirements by default because he has enough hours as a registered apprentice.
Okay.
Yeah, when no apprentice program exists, they must show proof of employment under the supervision of master license holder for a minimum of 4 years.
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't realize there wasn't a plumbing program that didn't exist.
The only one that exists is offered by the plumbers union. If there is no program that exists, as long as this applicant meets the criteria as under working beneath a master plumber for the amount of hours that is required, then he would be accepted under that or part of the ordinance.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Any other questions? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. The next application would be Daniel Yurkovic. Mr. Yurkovic is currently a registered journeyman plumber under Master License 95. He has held a journeyman's license for 24 years. There is no record of him being an apprentice registered with the city. That's not surprising. Those records weren't really adequately kept before 2000 like they are today. Can you pass this down to Mr. Collins, please?
Thank you.
Kevin Yurkovic is the master. Kevin's got 48 years now in the trade.
This is a father-son?
I think it's his son, yeah.
Yeah, he's 66. Just saw him. He wants to.
Okay, if we could scroll, Kelly, to the, there's a verifier. Mr. Yurkovic meets all the requirements under the verifier. It's a pretty good feat to work for family since 1982. Here's this reference letter.
I think everything looked in order. I'll make a motion to accept his application.
Mr. Panitsky made the motion to accept Mr. Yurkovic's application for a master plumber's license. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Dietrich. Is there any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Yes, Mr. Dietrich. The next applicant is for a mechanical license, David Straub. Let me pass that down to Mr. Cole.
I have that one.
You have that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
You're welcome. Mr. Straub has been working for David Nerthling. Mr. Nerthling has recently passed away. I would imagine that Mr. Straub is going to take over that business, or at least run that business. Let's see who his verifier is. Okay, it was Mr. Earthling.
The only question I have on it is that verification was done 2 years ago?
Sir, would you like to come up and just speak to that, if you don't mind? Right to the microphone, please.
Yeah, I brought with me Chris Earthling,
Okay.
Dave's wife, and
See if that green button's on. Is that?
he was looking to
There you go.
looking to retire early in '22, so he signed off on me at that time. So the witness would be Chris, that he did sign that in '22. He didn't get to that point to enjoy his
Understood.
retirement. so-
Understood.
Sorry for your loss.
Yes.
Thank you.
You have our
So,
condolences.
yeah, we didn't, I thought we'd have a little more time to take
Right.
care of this, so.
This isn't the first time that that's actually happened.
That's what Christie said, so,
Yeah.
you know, that's, brought us into how long we do have to operate the company, and she said 60 days, I believe it was,
Well,
under
there,
Dave's license.
Yeah,
so I
we-
feel like I'm on a time restraint here.
there's some leeway that we can afford to you, but we, of course, would want you to take that exam as quickly as possible,
Absolutely,
in the most expedited way you can,
correct.
okay? So, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't.
Thank you for
Not unless
being
you
here.
guys do.
I have a question for Mr. Straub, please.
Mhm.
On your experience, you're listed as the president of Earthlings Heating from 2017 until present.
President didn't take place until '22.
Okay, so that was an error on your experience page?
As president. If that's what it was listed as 17, yes. I was the general manager from 17 to 22.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I think the only other thing that I would just notice, not that it's a huge deal, but that the verification is supposed to be initialed, that they're checkmarked.
Christie did mention that, and that's why she said I might want to come today
Yeah.
with Chris. But since Dave signed that, we didn't want to go back and change anything.
Correct.
Understood. That's understandable. I don't think there's anything out of order with this application. I'll make the motion to approve. Mr. Straub. The motion's made and seconded by Mr. Paninsky. Are there any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. The application is approved. Okay. Lastly, under new business, we received an email about Mr. Paul Zito, who possessed a master's license in 2015, and then he apparently quit paying it, and he let it expire, and he has not renewed it since that time. It's my understanding that Mr. Zato would like to reinstate his license. We probably need to have some discussion on that. Christie, no one's here, well, Zach's here from the code office. Zach, do you have knowledge? I was under the understanding that in the past, the code office would, if people didn't pay for their license for a couple of years, they would have to pay back the entirety of what they owed in order to have a reinstatement. Is that true?
That's true.
Well, come on up to the mic if you don't mind.
So from my understanding, that's been an ongoing issue with all trades. Andy has had a couple conversations with Sam, Scott, and myself, and Christie, about looking away from just paying up to current and actually bumping back down to apprentice. So that would be a question for Andy, in my opinion. That's something new that's just happened recently, probably within the last year. just because there's so many licensed plumbers, electricians that are not keeping their license up to date. And then when it's time to do the work or get the permit, now you have a 4 or 5 year lapse of not carrying it, not paying for it, and it's just kind of, it's becoming a snowball effect. So that would, in my opinion, that would be a question for Andy of which way he wants to go with that, and then obviously you guys.
Well, I think we need more information on this
I
issue.
mean, I think 9 years is too long.
And that's a long time.
I could see a couple years. If you didn't plan on using it, you could put your license in escrow
Right.
also.
Right.
You could put your license into retired status and hold it, just paying the retired status fee, but just to not pay it at all is kind of,
That's where I'm at, right,
Right.
exactly. So,
okay.
it's as much as I know on that situation. I know there's like, a year or two, you can kind of work with it, hey, this is your last, you got to keep it up or else kind of thing. But 5 years is quite a bit in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's longer than 5 years.
Seven.
Not-
You're at 7.
7.
It's longer than 5. Okay. Well, I think if the board would agree that we should table this item to get some more information. So,
What is the city's, I mean, it's kind of vague what you're saying, because you don't have a written policy for that?
There's going to be an addendum.
Oh, okay.
It's got to go through a lot of channels, obviously, but it's something that's being discussed now. From what I understand right now, Andy kind of has that decision of, was there a reason for it? Why did you not keep it up, kind of thing?
Right.
If it was just, I didn't do work in the city, they had that conversation, and it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with
He
myself.
obviously is in Ohio because he has a license in Ohio, so obviously he's keeping that up to snuff because he's working there. But-
right. Well, that's why I think we need to get more information, honestly,
Yeah,
before we can make a decision. So I'll make the motion to table this item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Ziwi. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes to table that item. I believe that's it for applications, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Ms. Neville, thank you. Well, that being said, I'll take a motion for adjournment. Motion by Mr. Panitsky, seconded by Mr. Mr. Collins, sorry. Is there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That concludes the Trades Licensing Board meeting of April 2nd, 2024. Our next scheduled meeting will be the first Tuesday of May. Thank you all for attending.